Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Films and Stuff podcast. I'm Ethan, and I am breathlessly introducing the most valuable Pete, MVP. How are you, Pete?
I am good, buddy. How are you?
I'm great. And the reason I'm rushing through this introduction rather than taking a deep breath and taking my time is that we just both saw on opening weekend the DCU's latest offering, Supergirl.
Starring Millie Alcock, who most people will know from the first season of The House of the Dragon.
That's right.
Where she plays a young Rhaenyra.
Let's not make it overly dramatic. There has not been, this isn't like The Flash, where there's been like so much drama and online discourse and discord and blah, blah, blah. Supergirl's had, I think a normal amount of fanfare and minor Hollywood gossip for a film of this type, right?
100%. 100%. And it falls down exactly the same path as all these others. Yeah. Everyone complains about casting. She's the wrong type of blonde. Yeah. She's not American. Yeah. She's not Sydney Sweeney. Yeah. The usual. It applies to every movie. It's not just a DC movie. Yeah. It happens every year.
Yeah. Considering the high visibility of this movie, that chatter has been either normal or a little bit below normal. Considering exactly. the profile of this. And I have to say, given the competitive nature of entertainment media, you really don't get anyone clicking on an article that says, production is going great. Everyone's really happy with the casting. Everyone's just getting along and they're ahead of schedule, right? Like no one is reading that article where there's a quote from the director saying, man, we made all the right casting choices and everyone is just like doing their level best. You only get it if there's like this person gave an hour-long interview and they said this one 5-word thing that taken out of context is blah-de-blah-de-blah, right?
Yeah.
Even I'm able to, there's nothing really to harp on, I think, about the lead up to this film. Normal amount of discourse. There's 7 billion people in the world. Whenever you've got something from DC, you're bound to have a little bit of, bluster on the fringes. That being said, I thought Millie Alcock was very well cast for this, but I didn't love the cameo she made at the end of Superman. It did not set me up for like, oh man, I really want to see that movie. I thought it was not really the most persuasive way to get me excited about that movie.
I thought it was interesting because it was clearly them saying we're going to go in a slightly darker direction with Kara.
Yeah.
Do I think it was great? Not particularly. Do I think it was bad? Also not particularly. I didn't really have anything negative one way or positive about how she was introduced at the end of Superman. I had more issues with how she was portrayed in this.
I agree, but I'm just going to add one thing. Her cameo at the end of Superman definitely portrayed her as let's call a less uptight, kind of more freewheeling superhero compared to Superman. I didn't like that it was, I didn't like her parting comment, which was kind of like, hey, thanks for looking after my dog, bitch. I thought the word bitch, where she called her cousin Superman a bitch.
Yeah,
I thought that was. I don't think in any universe at all respectable to call someone a name like that. I don't think it was necessary, and particularly given Superman, I don't think it was nice. And particularly now that we saw this movie and showed actually how decent Superman was to her, and I think that's where you're going in terms of. Are we happy with how Supergirl was portrayed? Are you happy with how she was portrayed as a person, superhero?
So I think the movie tried to get ahead of that. So remember when the flashback sequences... So we're going to break into spoilers anyway, right? So, So spoiler alert. I think that flashback sequence where she's with her dying mom before she flies to Earth, right? Yeah. And she says, just be good. And remember, being good doesn't mean you have to be nice. It just means you have to be good. I think that was the movie trying to
No, I think she said you don't have to be weak.
Be good, but you don't have to be nice.
I don't think it was nice. I thought it was you don't have to be weak. Or maybe weak's not the word, but I don't think it was nice. It was something different.
Whatever it was. I took it as nice. Yep. I think it was the movie trying to get ahead of that. Because I think the number one issue people are going to have, and it was the number one issue I mostly had, or one of the top 5 issues I had, was that she's not just not nice. She comes off as unlikable. Unlikable in the sense that she's doing her best to just be a total jerkwad to everyone.
At 23, I don't expect her to necessarily be responsible. I'm okay with her being a little bit irresponsible. Yeah. But I agree. I feel like they intentionally... Oh, man, I'm going to start to go off. And I talked to my sister about this, so I've got some backing. I don't think it's wrong that she's irresponsible at a young age. But I feel like they intentionally portray her as like this hot mess. Like, oh, this is going to be the best year ever. But the bar is so low. Like, you're 23. What kind of bar do you think that you've set for yourself at 23?
Yeah.
Like, we're not asking you to yet, be the equivalent of Superman and be this, universal moral compass. But you also don't have to like diminish yourself and be like so ultra dramatic, like, oh, the bar is so low for a good year, I thought that was portraying her as not irresponsible and young, which I would have been cool with, but just as like almost deliberately crude.
I get it, right? I think the movie made it really clear that she's like this because she saw her people die. She saw her planet go away. In fact, she didn't see her planet go away because she was born after the destruction of Krypton.
That's right. But she saw her parents dying and some other people dying. But she saw her
parents dying. She saw the society around them was dying. I get it.
I thought that was done extraordinarily well. I thought the backstory really put into perspective why Superman is kind of so enthralled with Earth and the way that he is, given his background, growing up in Kansas or Smallville.
Right.
I thought it justified why she's a little bit more standoffish. But again, I think the disconnect is standoffish and immature versus just being like kind of nasty.
I would have much preferred her being angry all the time than to being a total jerkwad. Like, if you want to be angry, I get it. But to be a total jerkwad and to be so off-putting this way, you're right. At 23, you do still understand social niceties, right? Like, by then, you do have some vague idea of other people. So, I don't know. I found it to be very off-putting.
Once again, and considering that the writer is a lady, 9 superhero movies with female leads, and almost universally, they seem to undermine themselves by saying, oh, the woman is the hero. But at the same time, portraying the woman in such a incompatible way with their superhero status that it seems to diminish them more than elevate them,
Yeah.
Like Superman, they almost make fun of Superman, which I also have a problem with, but they almost make fun of Superman for being good. Oh, well, he's so naive. He sees the good in everybody. And they're like, that's a bad quality. It doesn't sit right with me. But I thought apart from that, I thought she was a very good Supergirl. I like her look. I like that they didn't overly sexualize her. I thought she was a very, very good Supergirl otherwise, to be honest.
Yeah. Normally, I usually have an issue or several issues with the visual representation of superheroes and their costumes. I think Deadpool bucked that trend. I think the Wolverine and Deadpool bucked that trend.
Yeah.
But I think I'm not a huge fan of what Superman's suit looks like in the DCU, but I think her look, that sequence at the end of the movie when she's standing or when she's floating in the sky with the sun to her back and she's got the Supergirl outfit on.
Yeah.
I think that outfit struck a great balance, which was absolutely right. It wasn't sexy, right? Or it wasn't like that coquettish, I'm trying to be a sexy whatever thing. Yeah. And it wasn't overly masculinized either. She looked great in that. I thought she looked absolutely perfect as Supergirl.
But I also thought in the movie they did something clever as well, which is like the trench coat look. I mean, first of all, whoever had wardrobe, I mean, probably spent 15 minutes on this film, right? But but the trench coat look I thought was very good because it kind of fit into every scene. And again, it was a little bit neutral in terms of it wasn't overly sexualized, it wasn't overly earthy, and it wasn't overly like alien-y, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
You saw like the aluminum foil stupid thing that she had on when she landed like on Earth in the pod. Like that seemed entirely like ridiculous. Like she looked like a Jiffy Pop thing, you know, like that was bonkers. But the fact that she had that kind of trench coat look on, I thought that was the right look. I can't even remember, like, did she have jeans underneath or a t-shirt? Oh, she had a t-shirt. But like, I thought that was the right wardrobe for her throughout. Her Asian sidekick.
Look, if it's not obvious to our listeners, we have some issues with this movie. Good or bad, we'll get to that. But we have some serious issues with this movie. Let's talk about some of the other things that we didn't like.
Let's start with seeing the movie. I saw it opening night, 2:45 a.m., and I was literally the only person there. If that is a proxy for how this is going to perform in opening weekend, it is not at all promising. Second observation is I kind of liked the movie as a whole, 2 hours of kind of entertainment, but it didn't really do anything for me. Okay, I walked out there like I was happy. I wasn't really angry, but I don't think it really clamored for a second Supergirl. It didn't expand the universe. I didn't really think that the plot was anything that stretched my imagination.
100%. I thought the plot was one of the weaker elements of this movie. I think that it was just a very generic plot to get her from one planet to the next planet to the next location. My biggest gripe with this movie was how much of this movie are we going to focus on the fact that I'm on a planet where I have a red sun versus a yellow sun versus a green sun? And how much of this am I going to have no powers of us on? I get really frustrated when it comes to Superman and Supergirl because they're very, very powerful characters, right? So to give them bad guys or villains that are formidable, it's not an easy job.
Yeah.
Right? It's
true.
Obviously, it's not, and you know, kudos to the writers of the comic books. I get it. If you told me you have an invincible man and an invincible woman who can fly, who can shoot lasers out of their eyes, who can see through things. By the way, first time we got to see them do X-ray vision, which I really liked. But you can do all of these things. But for me, it's a real cop-out to say, okay, well, if we can't find a villain good enough or we can't come up with a power set good enough to combat superpowers, let's just take away the superpowers. And if you're going to do that, then what are we doing watching a superhero movie? I want to see Superman and Supergirl and Deadpool and Wolverine with their powers. I don't want to see a movie where they don't have powers for a significant stretch of that. I think it's really ridiculous. And they came up with, we've got the sun is between a yellow sun and a green sun. So we know it's a green sun right now, so she's not going to have her powers. And in fact, the green sun maybe is kryptonite sun, which, by the way, they didn't explain at all. It was just a green sun. Right? So why was that actively killing her? Anyway, look, I'm getting a little too complicated.
No, but you're actually not wrong on this. But let me expand on that as well. I kind of am okay with that concept. I'm okay with her being like, look, I just want to be a normal person. I'm on a red sun planet. I want to party. I want to be a normal person. But then something should have happened where like her dog was taken or kidnapped. She shouldn't have been able to like beat up that whatever guy that initially took
at
the
the
sword,
bar
right?
at the beginning. Yeah.
Because I felt that was inconsistent. So then I would have been okay if someone would have like taken her dog and she's like, hey, I was powerless to do this. Now I'm going to like get my powers back and I'm going to like, if that would have been the turning point, I would have gotten it. But I thought it was really weird that she could kind of like fight and beat people up, even though she was like allegedly very, very drunk. And he seemed to be kind of like a powerful character. I thought the whole thing was just a little bit, didn't sit right with me. Here's my other point. Let's get into the nerdiness. She came from Krypton to Earth in this spacecraft, right? Seems to be a one-way ticket. How exactly has she been going to all these other planets? She's not like Guardians of the Galaxy. Where did she get a spaceship? There's no red planet even nearby Earth in real life. Where did she do this? It's not like she went to NASA and like stole a space shuttle or something. How exactly did she get to another planet?
I think that would have been a way better story. Her spacefaring origin and like, okay, we kind of see that she's struggling. We see that she's having a hard time, but then she's like, she's got her Guardians of the Galaxy style ship. That would have been, I think, a little bit more interesting.
She doesn't really have money. I'm just curious how she got so far away.
And it looked like a proper alien ship in the sense, like, it didn't look like, the ship that was in Superman. So, I don't know.
I just didn't get it, especially because then is she just flying? Can Superman fly, like, to different galaxies and stuff?
I mean, theoretically, if he can hold his breath.
The plot actually, in a way, was okay. That there was, like, basically two people teamed up for bounty hunting or for a revenge mission. Okay. Like, I could generally get behind that. I don't think they needed to go to so many different planets and outposts and places like that. That seems to be, like, one planet's fine, but it seemed like this was really Guardians of the Galaxy-ish, where they're just going to all these different, like...
Exactly! Right? Oh my God, thank you, because thank God somebody else thinks the same way too. Honestly, it felt like this movie, forget about... So there were a couple of things. Stylistically, this felt like a James Gunn movie, even though he wasn't directing it. It had the music beats. It had the drops. It had that end sequence, fight sequence, where she's inside the middle of the round, that cyclone. And it felt like the last Superman movie where, Lois Lane is in that same situation.
Completely.
It felt like a mix of Guardians of the Galaxy, Suicide Squad, and the last Superman movie, but it wasn't directed by James Gunn. It was kind of like James Gunn said, okay, you do whatever movie you want, but remember, I like hip music. I like slow motion round camera work. So don't forget if you want to do that.
You're right. That was also very Flashian, right? The Flash had that scene where it was like 360.
100%.
The way that this began with, I don't know who this bad guy is, who had like all the facial piercings and stuff, but the bad guy comes, not clear why, kills people indiscriminately, again, not clear why, leaves the girl, not clear why, and then she's like, okay, well, I've got no powers at all, I'm just a kid, but I've got like this Beskar steel sword, I'm gonna go get this guy, right? She wore the same outfit the entire time, no facial expression at any point in time.
If they had tied her backstory about how her parents got killed to the main plot, rather than it just being a straight revenge mission, I think it would have made so much more sense.
I agree. The whole thing was just a little bit random. I didn't like that. Then these two team up, fine. They're after the guy. The one girl wants revenge, clear. Supergirl wants the vial of antidote for the poison dart that the guy shot at her dog.
Yeah.
What do you think of this?
100% contrived at best. It was just an excuse for her to team up with her to go after this guy. I think it would have been better if he was just like, okay, well, I'm going to steal your dog. I'm going to kidnap your dog. I'm going to do something different, right?
I agree. The poison I didn't think we needed. It would have been better if he would have stolen the ship. Said, hey, the family destroyed my ship. I need a ship. I'm stealing your ship. Oh, I didn't know that the dog was like locked up. You know, like Supergirl could have been like, hey, dog, you're misbehaving. I'm going to put you in your cage, right? The dog's in the cage. The guy steals a ship. And Millie's like, oh, you stole my ship, but it's got my dog. I'm coming after you to save my dog. That's better than the guy who shoots the dart. Very good aim. Very poisonous dart. Like, what kind of poison is this? It takes like a week to like work. And then why do you need an antidote around your neck? Like, just destroy the antidote. What are you going to use the antidote for? You want to kill the dog, don't you? Why would you just keep the antidote? Also stupid. And if you're going to have an antidote, you just wear it around your neck? So silly. So I thought it would have been better to, like, if you're really going to have the dog involved, have the dog be kidnapped and Supergirl's after the dog. That makes more sense than the stupid, like, necklace of, like, a little bit of, like, antidote and the 72 hours and the... Fine. So these two team up. They're chasing the bad guy. Not sure who the bad guy is. And then appears either someone from the band Kiss or Jason Momoa. Not sure who.
Yeah.
You know this character. His name is what?
Lobo.
Who is Lobo?
He's this god-like creature. He's invulnerable, and he's like a space bounty hunter. He's basically Dog the Bounty Hunter in space.
Do you like him as a character?
He's interesting in the comic books.
Yeah.
But, like, I think this was a really bad way of introducing him. He did nothing in this movie.
Yeah. Pete and I exchanged messages yesterday. And I asked Pete for his 5-word assessment to this movie in advance of this. And my 5-word assessment was, Jason Momoa is a clown. Because I thought that was the most clownish character that I think I can recall seeing. I mean, it was really, really... I don't want to say it was bad acting because I think they made him be over the top. But, like, the character itself was just... What is this? A space kind of motorcycle? He's got kind of like shoulder pad armor on. His hair is like... He really looked like a guy from like an 80s hair band. You know, with the Kiss makeup on and like the rings and the cigar that had... I mean, the whole thing just seemed like bonkers and over the top. I don't understand like what his purpose is. I didn't know Lobo... Okay, he's a bounty hunter. Why? Is there a bounty on the guy? Is there a... Yeah. I just didn't get it.
Again, they could have worked with him in such a way where they're like, we'll put a bounty and you'll help us, right? He shows up in a bar. He disappears for 25 minutes. He shows up at the end.
Hold on. Supergirl knows the guy somehow.
Yeah, and they never talk about it again. Oh my God, that's Lobo, invulnerable guy. Okay, well... That's all you're going to do? That's your introduction to Lobo?
I didn't feel like Supergirl was this socialite who knew like all these people like in the universe, you know? 1. 2, she's allegedly not afraid of anybody. And then she gets to the guy and she's like, oh, don't talk to him. Don't talk to him. Look away. Look down. Avoid him. Like, why? Is she afraid of him? So yeah, I thought the Lobo character was just...
Jason Momoa is interesting as a character and as an actor, but I feel like more and more he's falling into his own trap where he plays the same guy in every movie.
I agree.
He played his last movie that I saw was The Wrecking Crew, where he plays this Dave Bautista's stepbrother or his own brother, whatever, in Hawaii.
I have to say, I can't remember. We've done 300 episodes now. I can't remember what I was talking about, but there was once that I said, I don't know who that person's agent is, but they should be fired. And I feel the same about Jason Momoa's agent. They're putting him in the same stuff, lowest common denominator. Gerard Butler, it's like they just wake him up and they're like, hey, you want to star in a movie? It's like, not really. Okay, well, you're going to be in a movie. Don't worry, you don't have to shave or brush your teeth, or you can stay hungover. We just want you to play exactly that same character. And I feel like they do the same to Jason Momoa. They're like, look, if you could just look really, really scruffy looking and wear a whole lot of rings and bracelets and jewelry and heavy metal stuff and show off your arms and just burp a lot and drink, that's all we need from you.
That's all we really need. We need a few quips, but don't worry, we'll give you the quips and that's it.
Yeah. but you don't have to do anything else. You don't have to shave, cut your hair, do anything. You'll just turn up whenever you feel like it.
He is slowly turning into that same role where he's just like every movie, you could replace the Momoa from any other movie and put him in that.
The only time he was funny was when he was in The Fall Guy because he was playing a parody of himself. That's the only time it was actually funny. Instead it was like, oh, don't worry, we got Jason Momoa to be this guy. And they show him like being a parody of himself. And it was like, oh, that's actually funny because it's who he is.
Yeah.
All right. Lobo sucks. I mean, the whole thing. Like, with the space.
I was not happy with Lobo. I remember Lobo. I remember reading a few of the comics when he was big in the 90s. My expertise on Lobo is much less than it is on the other guys.
Yeah.
But this was not an impressive introduction for Lobo. I don't think you have to be a comic book expert to believe that. I think everyone who's never heard of Lobo would just be like, did he need to be in this movie?
Here's the zoom out, Pete. Okay, James Gunn was hired to basically reinvigorate the DC comic universe, right?
Yeah.
So he was saddled with a bunch of crap that was already ready to be released, and it kind of messed up his plans. Fine. Then he rebooted everything with Superman. Fine. But I felt like he should have kind of like introduced the whole Justice League one by one. And then you could start to like expand a little bit the universe with like these other characters like Supergirl and Lobo and everyone else. But instead, we're not really introduced to like the main, we didn't really get the main characters yet. And we're already going to the, the B level and C level.
The back catalog. We don't know who Batman is. Green Lantern is being introduced on an HBO Max TV show. We don't know The Flash. We don't know Cyborg. We don't know Aquaman. I remember we talked about this. This is now maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. When he was first announced, I said, James Gunn needs to fight his inner dialogue very heavily, and he needs to stop himself from going into characters that he likes versus the characters that are going to sell tickets in the movies. And I get it. Like, you want to be... James Gunn is a quirky guy. He's done quirky stuff before, and he likes to do that. That works great for B, C, and D tier characters. That doesn't work with A tier characters. But you need to have the A tier characters be the foundation. The fact that we saw Lobo on screen before we see Batman is mind-boggling to me.
For Marvel, I can talk to someone and walk them through the sequence of what the timeline looks like and what's the history of that. For DC...
impossible. It not just no timeline, even in terms of the comics. Like, it makes sense to a hardcore comic book nerd, but it doesn't make sense that Lobo is being introduced, Supergirl is being introduced. I love Supergirl. I think she's a fantastic character. I don't know why you couldn't have introduced Supergirl in the Superman movie. And then not the way that they did in the cameo, but like as a proper character.
I like Superman. I like David Cornsweet as a Superman. I thought he was a very decent Superman. I like Supergirl as a character, and I thought Millie Alcock was actually a very good Supergirl, even though I didn't love the way that she was portrayed. I thought her backstory was very, very understandable or relatable.
Yeah.
But the movie itself, I felt like shortchanged her a little bit.
So I'm a huge fan of Millie Alcock, but I think a lot of people are going to blame this failure on her rather than on the story. And I think that's unfair. I mean, it comes with the territory of being the lead actor in any movie. But I think that in terms of the characters, Lobo I thought was terrible. I thought Jason Momoa really did Lobo a disservice, one.
Yeah.
I think that the little sidekick girl, totally unnecessary. The way she was portrayed, I think they could have done a much better job of doing the story or integrating her story better. The bad guy was just this one-note bad guy for the sake of being a bad guy, right? I mean, he was just this no-name bad guy. Krem from the Yellow Hills. I know I haven't read a lot of DC comics, but like I don't even recognize him as a main villain.
Yeah.
And going back to your main point, we ranked this movie relatively highly on our top 10 lists.
Where'd we put it?
You've got it at number 7. I've got it at number 6.
We're both pretty...
We're both close, but man, this summer has been totally a flop for me already. And we haven't even gotten to the meteor parts of July yet.
I'm just a little bit sad about this because Superman is a premier character, right? And someone, I read this somewhere, I heard this somewhere. If you go to someone who is like a sheep farmer, in South America, or you go to someone who is a banker in like Asia, everyone knows Superman.
Yeah,
like, that
absolutely.
is a universally recognized, and quite honestly, positive impression is probably pretty high. He stands for something, and I think that most people have a generally good perception of him. And I thought that new Superman movie wasn't as strong. I thought the Superman portrayed was good, and I thought his character was good. His moral character was good. I thought that gonzo-ness of the bad guys was a little bit too much. And I really wanted to love that story. And then Supergirl, I feel like kind of went off the rails. And I'm just not sure if there's any enthusiasm or momentum for continuing this.
For me, the enthusiasm for the DC universe is right now at an all-time low. It really depends on what they do with Batman and Wonder Woman, because the big three are Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. Again, I loved Superman's portrayal as being this young, naive guy. I wasn't a huge fan of the movie. I thought it was fine. I think Supergirl was not great.
Who's going to be Wonder Woman? Is it still Gal Gadot?
Totally new cast again, so we don't know.
And Batman, we have no idea.
I haven't seen any confirmed things that, this is the new Batman. I heard it could be Jensen Ackles. Whether that's true or not, I don't know.
I agree. I'm just disappointed in DC. It feels like James Gunn, now that the merger is over, I feel like James Gunn is going to be out and they're going to reboot this all over again. And they should. And they should say, day one, lift up the red curtain. This is your Superman. This is your Wonder Woman. This is your Aquaman. This is your Batman. This is your Flash. We're going to release one of these every year. And then, League of Justice is coming out in 5 years.
And I get it. A lot of people are tired with that trope because that's what Marvel did. But I will also reiterate that it worked for Marvel.
It worked.
Why would you want to change a formula that is a successful formula and one that has not worked for you in the past? Yeah. They tried this formula and it didn't work for them. So I think, I don't know. I just think that, look, it sounds boring. It sounds cliched. But I think the first 3 movies you have to release are Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman. It doesn't matter what order to me. I couldn't give a shit what order you do it in. But those are the first 3 movies you have to release. You don't do anything on TV. You don't try to make this omni-channel solution where one superhero is being introduced on one platform and one is on another. You just don't do that. And if you are dead set on introducing new characters that are like these B-tier and C-tier characters, do it in the main movies.
One of my complaints about Superman was these 3, dipshits, right? Lantern,
Mr. Terrific, Lantern, and Hawkgirl, yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of seemed like a Saturday Night Live sketch
of what a superhero show should be, yeah.
I'm like, are those 3 people real people? Because they seem like they're parodies of people. This one guy's got black eye patches, and he's sitting in a chair, controlling these little orbs.
Yeah.
That's a superhero? What's his story? Okay, fine. That's one guy. And then Hawkgirl, which is Hawkeye? No, Hawkgirl. Hawkgirl can fly. She's Supergirl? Well, no, she's someone different. All right, fine. And what's Green Lantern? Well, he's got this horrible haircut. He looks like a 50-year-old, dad bod, but he can make any shape thing. Right? I mean, it was just did someone just come up with this at the last minute? Was there a production meeting before they filmed and someone's just give me 3 guys, just make them up?
This is the problem with James Gunn is he goes after these ultra weird kind of niche characters, which works for your 3rd phase. It does not work for your first.
Yeah, it works when your you're creating Guardians of the Galaxy or...
Yeah, as the 10th or 11th or 12th movie in the series, not as the first.
You want to be the CEO of a company? Like you said, you push that aside and you're like, let someone else be the quirky guy. The CEO can't be like chasing all this like crazy nonsense.
It's a co-CEO role with Peter Safran, and Peter Safran, or whatever his name is, should have pushed back and said, James, I admire your vision. I appreciate that you made $3 billion movies with the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, but we're not there yet. You want to do some quirky shit? I want you to do quirky shit. But make a Superman movie that is going to make $1 billion first.
You'd be a much more diplomatic co-CEO than I would, because I'd be like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah, but like, you know, I mean, it's just, this isn't going to sell.
Don't even come to me with that anymore. Get out of here. Yeah. You're like, I admire your creativity. Like, you're much more the Hollywood agent, like dealing with the ego. Like,
I'm the EP. I'm the executive producer that gets everyone on board on the first day. I really
admire your creativity, and you've got $3 billion of revenue under your belt, but let's just like workshop this a little bit more. And I'm like, dude, get out of my office. I don't even want to hear this anymore.
We have said this. We've been doing this podcast for like 5 years now, or whatever it is.
Formally.
Right.
Informally
for like 15 or 20 years. But the point is, we have consistently said the same thing from the beginning.
Yes.
Every studio needs to hire, it doesn't have to be us, although we volunteer for the job, a chief common sense officer. You need to be able to say, that makes no sense. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this?
I'm really just surprised. Like, I feel like they do all these screenings and testings and things. Like, are people not giving feedback? Is the feedback wrong? Or is it being ignored? Like, did someone see this and say, like, oh, yeah, like, no issues, that's fine? Or was it, like, really, really, really bad the first screening and they, like, fixed it and this is the better version?
I don't know. Look, Supergirl isn't a bad movie, right? But I don't think it's the movie that's going to make $1 billion this summer. In fact,
no way. $300 million.
If your goal is not to make $1 billion, fine. Why wouldn't it be? But okay, I accept that it's not. If your goal is to make a foundational movie, this isn't that either.
No.
With all due respect to Supergirl fans everywhere, Supergirl is not a foundational movie for the DC universe. It's just not. I get that you've had so many superhero movies that you need to have new characters. I get it. But you have to start with the foundation, regardless of whatever you're rebooting. And this is not a foundation movie.
I'm okay with it being a foundation movie, but then they should have added another 20 minutes of backstory in terms of how did she get, like, they showed her on Earth, like, actually, that really resonated with me. She's like, it's so loud, and like it wasn't her place. And I got that, where she didn't adapt the same way that Superman did or Clark Kent did, right? Clark had a job, and Clark was raised by loving parents, and she didn't even speak the language. They didn't really clear that up how she like Duolingo'd it, but anyway, she fixed it. But like, it would have been good if they would have shown like, how did she actually get into space? Did she just one day like just jump and fly, and she's got the ability to fly like at the speed of light, and she can just go to like a different galaxy? Can she do that? If she can't, I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. But that would have been a good story in terms of how that happened. And then you show her like, hey, like, I just want to be on a red planet, be someone else, just chill out. Oh man, like my dog was stolen. No more just being a normal person. I've got to go get my dog.
I don't know why you can't make a superhero movie also be a very local movie. John Wick's movie was super local, right? Yeah. Somebody stole my car. Somebody killed my dog. I am not happy with this. I will destroy the earth. Simple, understandable story. They could have done this. They could have made her the John Wick of the universe and said, somebody tried to kill my dog. Somebody kidnapped my dog. I will go to the ends of the earth because he's the last thing I have that connects me to Krypton and my parents. I will burn the galaxy down getting my dog back. I don't need to have this small child who, with all due respect, I'm sure she's a wonderful person, had very little charisma. I don't need Lobo, and if you want to throw in a cameo with Lobo, have a cameo with Lobo, but I don't need him in there. I don't need there to be some super connected villain universe. It doesn't need to be all of that stuff.
It would have been better if Supergirl would have, like, before the end, would have had, like, a little bit of a, hey, I see some of her in me. I'm going to help her. There was just no emotion in this, kind of like at the beginning.
Oh, my God. She killed a guy at the end. She stabs him in the neck and the chest.
Yeah.
She talks a big game about how this will change you and you'll never get your peace. But we never see her do her first kill. That means, like, it is implied that she's killed people before. I'm not okay with that for your superheroes. I'm okay with that for Wolverine. I'm okay with that for Deadpool. I am not okay with that for Superman and for Superman. I get that she needs to be a gritty character, but I am not okay with it. So it makes no sense to me that she did that. And she talks about this as being a life-changing event, and then she goes ahead and does it for her anyway. Why? Yeah. What's the thing? There's so many small things that I didn't like about that. What's your rating?
I still think people should go see this in a cinema, but I have to say, if you don't see it, you'll live, so it's probably wait for streaming. I called my brother on the way home from the cinema, and he's like, should I go see it? I'm like, honestly, between you and I, like, you'll be okay if you don't.
Yeah.
I think it's a wait for streaming. There's nothing canonical about this that you really need to see. There's no spoilers that you're going to hear about. Like, wait for streaming. Unless you're a huge DC buff or movie fan like you and I are.
My initial gut instinct was that this was a skip. When I walked out of the cinema, I was just like, that was 2.5 hours I'm not getting back. That was not enjoyable. Some of the fight sequences were cool, but like, there's nothing in this that would tell me you have to see it in the cinema. Because if you saw Superman, you saw the same action sequences in this movie. I think a skip might be too harsh on it. I can't help but feel like it should have been a skip. But I think you're right. I think this is a wait for streaming. It's not going to hurt you to watch it, but at the same time, you're not benefiting from stopping everything to go to your local AMC to watch it.
Let me give you my take on the two set pieces that I thought were important. The last one where you talked about, she just kind of like, I don't know, there's like some circle and she like just destroyed everything. I thought that was pretty boring, to be honest. Well done, but pretty boring. But the one where they're kind of like on that space bus and she was like disappearing and reappearing, that was actually an 8 out of 10 that if they would have made it a little bit better could have been like a forever Matrix all-time scene. They messed it up by adding a little bit of comedy in it where she like appeared underneath the guy and like she dropped the thing once. Like if they would have made that like a proper, added a little bit more seriousness to it, that would have been an all-time scene, actually.
That could have been a great way to also introduce her as someone who's actually capable of fighting.
Well, we didn't, though, because, see, that's where I'm a little bit fuzzy about. She shouldn't be able to fight at all. So the fact that she was just kind of like appearing and reappearing, I thought would be consistent with the fact that she didn't get powers. Because remember, then she went to the bus driver, and the mini-me bus driver was actually pretty good. Right. I could do more of that guy. And she's like, hey, can you get closer to the yellow sun? She didn't actually have any powers. So I had a problem with that first scene where she was like beating up the guy on that like big weird horse. But then I was okay on the bus where she was like kind of backing and forthing. If she would have been like a little bit more float like a butterfly, sting like a bee kind of way, where she was just kind of like disappearing, bonking someone on the head, reappearing, bonking someone on the head. Like that would have been a cool, but I thought that scene was really, really good. I thought it was an 8, but they could have made that a 10 scene. And also they messed it up once again, Gunn. The two ladies that she was fighting, can you just get like a normal looking villain? Not every villain that you have needs to be like so weird, right? Like, okay, you want a blue villain? Have a blue villain. I'm okay with that. But it's just like there was like too much going on with those villains,
Yeah.
Simple is better. But I thought that would have been a really, really good scene where she's fighting the 2 space pirates. That was solid, I thought. I think that's the only other set piece I really had a comment on, those 2. All right, before we sign off on a very comprehensive Films and Stuff episode, can you give everyone our social media and details and coordinates?
Absolutely. Like this video, leave a comment below, subscribe to our channel, and do not forget to hit that notification bell so that you know when the next episode of the Films and Stuff podcast drops for you.
I'm making motions that support that. No one can see it, but I'm verbally confirming that I'm making some hand gestures that reinforce what you just said. Listeners, thank you for tuning in. MV Pete, thank you as always for your insight. And we shall see you next week. Next episode, Films and Stuff podcast. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Ethan. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.